My name is, first of all, Kathy Costanzo, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Public Representation.
My name is Michael Kendrick, and I work with the Center for Public Representation. For me, the challenge goes back many decades, where I continued to encounter individuals that were considered the most difficult to serve or support. And nobody knew what to do with them. And so there's great pessimism about them, and they were seen as dangerous, either assaulting themselves or assaulting other people and so on. But we just simply dealt with them by corralling them and locking them up and all kinds of things like that. And of course, very few people actually listened to see what was underneath it that was driving someone to act in in ways that may have been injurious to other people. So that challenge was kept reoccurring in my work and so on. And somewhere along the line, it became clear to me that if we're not listening to people and respecting their voice, is it any wonder that they act up? And so in step by step, and not just myself, but many others as well, we tried to do something different, which was to take them seriously as decision makers in their own life. And we didn't have a term in those days called supported decision making. Today now the term has widespread use. But the sort of inspiration for it was really to respect that voice, not just listen to it, to respect it and then to partner with people around their decisions and support them and strengthen them. And eventually, of course, this became a movement internationally of all kinds of people called the supported decision-making movement. And the crux of it being that people are going to be a whole lot better behaved when people respect them and cooperate with their decisions as opposed to undermine them and to treat them as if they don't have rights and don't have a desire to be a captain of their own ship. Now that would have been my experience, but it really is the experience of so many other people as well. So we didn't really have a term called supported decision making until really the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is when that term began to be widely used. And then here in the United States, it was particularly taken up by advocates and legal advocates and so on, because they quite identified with the idea of self-direction and things like that. So it's been a process for all of us. But to cut to the chase, really, what it is a way to liberate people to their own potentials and to give them the respect that they were denied. And of course, long story short, that was transformative. When people's voice was actually respected, when their thoughts, their concerns, their priorities were respected, lo and behold, they were a little bit easier to get along with. And so those kind of experiences, it wasn't just my experience, many had similar experiences. By changing our approach to listening and respecting people, then we began to see who the people really were and what their true potentials are, not just that they had bad behavior at some point, but rather that they had all these strengths and gifts and good qualities that somehow nobody had noticed until much more recently. So for a person like myself that's been part of that process, it's really an ongoing eye-opener for me. So it's been a great learning experience for me and many others. But where it's brought us to is a very different world where people, as I'm describing, are living much, much better lives. And it's a wonder we didn't do this much, much sooner. And what I realized is I've got to get him. I've got to understand how he's communicating with me, because he doesn't use words, but he's communicating on all sorts of other levels. And for me, that was a sort of a major learning experience that I gradually could build on, because I realized it starts with getting the relationship right with him. If the relationship wasn't right, I was going to get nowhere with him, and he was going to get nowhere with me. So this is, I eventually came up with a term for it, which I just called ethical partnering. But where he felt, where he would feel that he was listened to, or somebody really did understand him in some form or fashion. And that was the beginning for me of trying to work out getting the relationship right. And not just because you just wanted a right relationship, he needed a right relationship before he's going to open up and grow and develop his potential. So for me, that journey was really the beginning of my sense of what the remedy might look like for dealing with people that are considered badly behaving or something like that. And of course, to be accurate, I didn't do that perfectly. I was having a learning curve alongside him. So it was a back and forth exercise, and of course it eventually involved many other people as we tried to get the relationship right with him. And eventually I would start to use terms like ethical partnering or things like that, but I didn't have those terms when I was first doing it. I just found ways to name it. So that's where it began, and the real sort of gist of the story is this gentleman learned to become more fully a human being, day by day, week by week, month by month, in terms of what he could do with his own potential in life. And that was because he was in an environment where people were desperately trying to understand him in a respectful way. And when we did, he benefited.